a valley in northeastern Tennessee in the year 1917. There were scattered farms, some prosperous, and others, well, not so prosperous. And there was a little settlement some folks called a town. Nothing very unusual about the valley. That is, to someone just passing through. But if you took the time to look close, some things in the valley would at least catch your attention. Like the people. A potentially rich labor supply, skilled in the use of simple tools, and physically hardened by their daily tasks. To their children, these people passed on vigor and industry and a way of life that hadn't changed much for generations. There were untapped raw materials in the valley, like limestone and silica and shale, great stands of timber, a wide, deep river, and there was a railroad. This railroad needed freight for its empty rails. So it sent a man named Fred Johnson to develop a city in the valley. An industrial city that could provide the needed freight. Johnson was born in this region and knew the people. He wanted to build a city that would benefit them. Of course, he realized that such a city didn't just happen. But he was convinced it could be planned. Well, that was Johnson's goal. The means lay ahead. When you have a problem, it's a good idea to consult an expert. That's what Johnson did. He got John Nolan to plan the physical layout of the city. Both agreed on the general principles the planning should follow. Residential section off by itself. Houses varied in structure and landscaped, with centrally located areas reserved for parks, schools, and playgrounds. Business district concentrated for efficient shopping, with wide streets and ample parking facilities to ease traffic congestion. Industries set apart, surrounded by green belts and close by main arteries of transportation like railroads and highways. The three areas to be joined by good roads, with the main traffic pattern removed from the residential section. Finally, plenty of space reserved for the orderly expansion of all districts. To the valley selected for the site, these general principles of city planning were applied. Residential section on the hills, business district in the bowl, industries along the river. And that's how the city of Kingsport started, on a drafting table. The plan grew. Johnson and Nolan and lots of others worked hard to get it off that drafting table. They finally did, too. The little settlement that some folks used to call a town became a memory. Today, Kingsport is a community of 45,000 people, mostly workers. It's still growing. Varied industries came to the valley and prospered. The raw materials brought them. Timber and Water brought a company that produces plastics and chemically treated yarns. Silica Sand brought a manufacturer of glass. shale and limestone are used to make bricks. Timber also brought a paper mill. But the overall plan went further. Many of these industries are interrelated. The covers that bind the books at the press are made out of cotton, spun at a mill but a few miles away. This cotton is processed into cloth bindings at another factory and delivered to the adjacent press. A great portion of the paper mill's output is also shipped to the press. In the press rooms, print is applied to the paper, and a made-in-Kingsport product is ready for world use. These industries created jobs not only for men, but women as well. In 25 years, the people of the valley became skilled, highly paid industrial workers. Production managers and workers often find time for neighborly small talk. The spirit of the community is built on warm personal relations both on the job and off. Management and labor are served at the same company cafeteria. Workers and executives eat side by side. Some folks with a lot of surplus energy like to pass the lunch hour in the sun. Playing together like this helps people work together. Work hours are short, but Kingsport is like most other places. People look forward to heading home when the day's job is done. For those who don't own cars, fleets of buses provide quick transportation over efficient traffic patterns. The growth of industry brought commerce to Kingsport. That's the way they figured when the city was planned. Stores are concentrated within easy walking distance. Shopping's convenient, even for those who haven't made up their minds. Looks like these two have an idea, though. Merchandise ranges from luxuries to basic necessities. In supermarkets, most all varieties of food are available. Workers like John and Mary Roberts prefer these markets. They're quick and economical, and the quality's first rate. On the way home, people are likely to pass the Civic Auditorium. Nothing going on at the moment, but the auditorium's usually pretty well booked up with shows and concerts and community social affairs of all kinds. The residential section spreads over the hills beyond the city. Medium and upper income groups share the same natural advantages that make for close family and community relationships. Up here, children can race around the way young folks should, without worrying too much about traffic. That's the way they planned it. Mighty nice place to raise a family. Lots of people still live on farms, like Mary and John Roberts. John's mother takes care of the children while their parents are at work. That's her way of contributing. It's a full-time job, too. Mary likes to slip into old clothes and tender chickens. John thinks it's a good idea to familiarize his sons with modern mechanized methods of farming, till they begin to slow up his operations. The boys aren't expected to work. The paychecks from the factory make it unnecessary. They can wander off on adventures of their own. Production manager Sam Benedict is one of Kingsport's 5 aldermen. Come evening, Sam often mulls over the city's problems. Sam doesn't mind the intrusion. It kind of gives meaning to his work. Makes him feel the planning that helped his child must go on for the generations to come. Pressman Jim Isley's suppers early on meeting nights. Young Willies do it the Boy Scouts. For Jim, it's the Board of Aldermen. Mrs. Isley will finish her chores and attend a parent-teachers meeting. Good chance to check on what little Willie's been up to in school. Aldermen like Jim and Sam are chosen by their fellow citizens, regardless of politics. It's a job with lots of work and little pay. So every citizen must be prepared to fill it when his turn comes. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen is usually made up of workers, merchants, small businessmen, now and then an executive from a large company. One alderman is selected by the others to serve as mayor. He sits up at the head of the table. Then there's a full-time administrator, the city manager. He's usually in on these meetings. Sam Benedict is spokesman for tonight's issue, Smoke. Even though Kingsport's factories are set apart from business and residential sections, on certain windy days, the heavy smoke is blown over the city. The soot has become a general nuisance. Getting rid of this smoke will be costly to one group, industry. But the board decides to call a meeting so all groups can vote on the issue. Conservative and liberal newspapers campaign against the smoke nuisance. Interest runs high. Handbills are distributed in the streets, just in case anyone's forgotten the meetings tonight. Kingsport's grown so big, it's no longer possible for everyone to attend these town meetings. So the people choose representatives to express their views to the board. Well, Sam's had his say, and the meeting's open to discussion. Representatives state what they're for or what they're against. Nothing uncertain about this lady. Answers by the board are right to the point. No punches are pulled. The representatives are accountable to the people, and the aldermen are accountable to the representatives. That's the way it works. Here's our friend John Roberts. Taxes are low, but John wants to know why they aren't lower. The mayor tells John he's out of order. Taxes can be discussed at another meeting. Smoke's the issue tonight. John and his neighbors steam a bit, but they'll cool off. They know the wishes of the majority rule these meetings. The smoke ordinance was passed all right. It cost industry a lot of money, but it brought a lot of benefit to the people. It was just another step toward better living. These newest citizens aren't concerned with anything but just plain living. But parents know the securities of better living that await these babies as they grow up. At this community hospital, insurance, costing but a few cents a month, provides expert medical care for all age groups. Supervised playgrounds give children the means for healthy group activity. Even crying's healthy, when there's someone nearby to explain. Organized games occupy older children. This lad's a regular sharpshooter. Good schools open the doors to the satisfactions of learning by doing. Competitive sports strengthen teenage muscles, weaken middle-aged throats. There's plenty of leisure time for all in Kingsport, and plenty of ways to spend it. A little distraction can ease the tension when you're discussing something mighty important. On Sunday mornings, most citizens go to church. There are many churches of many faiths. Lots of people devote their leisure to cultural things. Plenty of ways to do that in Kingsport, too. Whatever the hobby, the people pursue it with enthusiasm. Every couple of weeks or so, the Kingsport Symphony Orchestra broadcasts over the local radio station. They're all just amateurs who miss a note once in a while. But they enjoy playing together. That's important.
Get your partner for the next choir dance. We need 2 more couples. All turn to the right. Halfway back.
Now and then some folks get together for an old-fashioned square dance.
Now you're home. On to the next special floor. Halfway back. Right hand cross.
a planning commission continues to develop projects for the approval of the people. The people like planning. To them, it's a common sense way of getting things done. Things like new homes for an expanding population, or a more adequate library. Well, that's the Kingsport story. Better living through voluntary planning. Looks like the people mean to continue it.